Yo, welcome back everybody to another guide video. This is going to be your beginner's guide to Ring Domination. Now, if you haven't played this event before or just haven't played in a long time, I'm going to give you my tips and tricks, my deck setup, and everything you need to know going into Ring Domination. So first, let's talk about whether or not you can actually get the event card. And in order to get the event card, you have to be in the player rarity of the current tier. So the current tier is Inferno right now. So your player rarity has to be in Inferno in order for you to get the event card. Now, where you start is going to be one tier below your current rarity. So if you're in Inferno, you're going to start in SummerSlam. If you're in SummerSlam, you're going to start in Enigma. Now, they did mention, WWE SuperCard did mention that they will change it eventually. I don't know when that's going to happen, maybe next season. But supposedly they're going to change it to where you start in your current tier instead of the tier below you. Now, if you are in top tier, it's going to require you to do 32 shards, which is 32 total resets from SummerSlam, and then 36 in Inferno, and then 36 in the event card itself. Now, you can do any tier below you as well by just simply scrolling all the way up. There's going to be less shards on the board, which means it's going to be easier to get. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, sometimes they obviously put in special cards, or maybe they put in fusions or something that you don't have that you want an image of. And so always keep that in mind, that you can use the same deck that you're using in this event and then just scroll up to a different tier and play that card as well. Now, if you are in the current tier, which is Inferno, and you plan on completing this and getting the event card, once you complete this last event card, it will go into Heroic. So you will lose the chance in order to get all the previous cards before. So be sure, if you want, if you care, check them out before you go into the next one. But you have to complete all 3 boards, and then you're going to do the exact same thing on the Heroic side, complete all 3 tiers, which in this case is SummerSlam, the base Inferno, and then the Heroic upgrade to get the Heroic of this event. Let's talk about general deck setup. This is what I do. There are multiple different strategies when it comes to this event, and I'll give you a few alternate ones once we get into the gameplay, but this is typically generally how I set it up. Just simply autofill and then replace the bottom 2 cards with WrestleManias. Now, I do use down arrows most of the time for my 2 WrestleManias, because these cards are obviously not going to beat anything. You want to avoid all of the other cards or all the other battles. And in order to do it, at least how I play and how I set up the board, I use down arrows. But there's a couple different ways to set it up. For example, if you have really, really high cards and then your other top 8 are just not that high, I would kind of attempt to balance it out, kind of make them very similar in the same strength. It's not going to matter that you really have super, super strong cards. The only thing that's going to do is just push your deck higher in the tier. So make it somewhat balanced. It doesn't have to be completely balanced or anything like that. They don't match you. They just match the deck tier instead of the cards itself. So that's why you're going to put in these 2 WrestleManias to bring the deck down, so the cards that you face are going to be a lot easier and guarantee yourself to be able to win. Now, when I autofilled and put in the last 2 cards, you see that my tier jumped all the way up to the very top of SummerSlam, which is totally fine, except when I play my matches, I'm not going to want to play any Inferno players. So if I do get an Inferno opponent, just back out, go back in until you get a SummerSlam. Now, depending on your cards, your bar is going to be anywhere, somewhere, anywhere in any of the tiers. And so you're kind of going to either want to be at the very top of a lower tier that you could get by putting in your bottom 2 cards, or be towards the bottom of whatever tier you're in. And in which case you're at the very bottom, you're always going to look for opponents that are the 1 tier below you. It's going to make it a lot easier when it comes to gameplay, and a lot of times you don't even have to do any battles. So now let's check out some gameplay and some strategies when you're playing this game. This is gameplay from the last event that we had in Ring Dom. And the last event, you see that my bar was towards the bottom of SummerSlam. And if you make your deck that in, any particular tier, like I said, you're going to want to look for opponents that is one tier below you. And in which this case, it is Enigma. So once we get Enigma opponents, then those are the ones that we are going to be able to play. So now let's talk about each of the matches. Now you do have a board with 9 squares, and as long as you control more squares than your opponent, then you're going to end up winning. You always get to go first, and the idea, at least for my particular strategy, I try to get through this as fast as possible without doing any battles whatsoever. And in order to do that, the best method to start with is going to be to play in the middle square right here with your best card. Once you do that, a lot of times, I don't want to say every single time, but a lot of the times the opponents will play on this top row up here. And that makes it really easy. Once they start doing that and they start playing in the top row, you want to get your cards one square away. So if you start in the middle, then you're going to put one square down here in the corner, and then you're going to put one square down here in the bottom corner. So now since we had the middle one done, they put it on the top row. We're going to put it down here on the bottom corner. They put it on the top row again, and so we're going to put another square down here. Now, in order for them to take over the board or take over the square, the direction that the arrow is facing is going to be who you attack. So you see Finn Balor right here in the middle. If the opponent places a square or a superstar right here that has a right arrow, meaning that the card is facing to the right with the right arrow, he will attack Finn Balor. If a card is placed up here at the top with a down arrow, then he will attack Finn Balor. Same as if he were to place one right here with a down arrow, it attacks Chad Gable. And so once we get all of the squares in these equal, spaces away from each other, the only thing the opponent can do is either try to attack me, in which his cards are not going to be strong enough and we're going to win, or I could put in any card that is not facing one of his cards and without even doing a battle. So if I place a card right here at the top, as long as it doesn't have a left or a right, then it doesn't, have a battle. We don't have to battle or anything. So we put one right here on the bottom. He put one at the top. And you see with this WrestleMania is a down arrow. And so the down arrow faced Rey Mysterio. And since that's my card, we don't have to do a battle. If it was an up arrow, then we would have to, engage in some sort of battle. And being that it's a WrestleMania 39, he's obviously going to lose. So that's why I always put in the down arrows, because I set it up in this like triangle format to where whichever one I put it in, it's always going to be facing a card that I control, and therefore they don't have to battle anybody. Now, when you get done with your match, assuming that you win, you get 4 picks. If you use a doubler, you're then going to get 8. And on the board, you're going to be looking for resets. And like I said, each shard is going to be an actual reset. So this first one that you face in the tier below you, if you are in top tier for Inferno, in which case this is SummerSlam now, there are going to be 32 total resets. But my recommendation, and what makes it easier for me, is that once you come to this board, don't do your 4 picks. Don't do your 8 picks or whatever. All you're going to do is just force quit. You are going to close out the game and then bring the game back up, and those picks will then bank. So you could bank up to 50 total picks, which means if you're doing doublers and you're getting 8 picks each time, you're going to play 7 games and you're going to get up to 56 total picks. It's going to go to 48 in the 6th game, and then on your 7th game, it's going to go to 56, and then it's going to make you use your picks. kind of like the regular draft board or whatever. Once you go over 50, then you have to use your picks on the draft board. It's the same thing in Ring Domination. So you're going to get to 56 and use all 56 picks on the draft board. It just makes it a lot easier and a lot less stressful trying to find these shards. So now, like I said, it doesn't always happen to where they play all 3 cards in the top row. It doesn't always work out like that. But your cards in your deck, since you sandbag just a little bit, your cards are going to be a lot better. So typically you don't ever have to battle anybody. And like I said, we put in a right arrow Carlito right here because he put the Miz right there, and you're always going to want to leave an open space for your WrestleMania, and then just have down arrows and up arrows. That way you don't have an arrow that faces one of your opponents and you don't have to do a battle. It gets through a lot faster, and it makes it just so much easier to get through the event. Now, another option that you might want to consider, you don't have to, I typically don't do this, but you can train cards in this event quite easily and quite effectively. Instead of putting in these WrestleMania 39s, you can put in untrained level 0 Infernos or level 0 SummerSlams, just depending on what tier you have. I wouldn't do too many of them because, like I said, the more stats that are in your deck, the higher that the deck tier is going to be. And so you're going to face more difficult cards. You might even want to consider maybe keeping 2 of the WrestleManias and then just switching out one of your top tier cards for a card that you want to train. But you still can switch out both WrestleManias for cards that you're going to train. And kind of the similar strat to where if you put the card you want to train in the center right here, and it's a bad card, your opponent will typically try to battle it because it knows, their computer knows that it can beat it. So that'll give you 1 match. And you want control of the board, so you lose control of the card, and so you're going to want to attack that card again. And so if he puts in a left arrow or a right arrow right here to attack the center square, the computer will take control. Well, then I use one of my cards that's either an up arrow right down here, a left arrow right here, or a down arrow up here at the top. And then I'm going to attack the same card again, and that's going to give it another match. Then the computer will come in, try to attack it again with either a left arrow or an up arrow, and then you use the last space to take final control of it, and this card in the middle will then get 4 total matches in 1 game. And it does make it to where it goes by, at least the matches, goes by really quick. You can also put in cards that you want to do matches for in one of these corners as well. In which case you don't have an up, down, left, or a right balance in your deck. You can put it in the corner and the opponent will attack either with a down arrow or a left arrow. And then that only gives you 1 square that you have to take control of, and you'll take control of the actual card. You can do the same philosophy or same strategy in any one of these 4 corners, but it's only going to give you 2 matches per game instead of 4 if you put it in the center. But either way, I still just use the WrestleMania 39 strategy. Just, put in those 2 bottom cards with 2 or with the rest of your deck being top tier. And you never really have to go into a battle unless the AI actually does it. As far as doublers go, are they worth it to pick up? And in my personal opinion, yes. I am one of those people that absolutely hates this event. This is probably my most hated event that is played consistently. The only other event that I dislike more than Ring Domination is Clash of Champions. So I try to get through this as fast as possible. 4 shards a game can get grueling when you're talking about trying to complete this at 108 or 106 total shards for regular, and then the exact same thing on the heroic side. So I just buy a 600 credit pack each time and then just do doublers the whole way down. Another thing that I want to mention is that if you control all 9 squares, you actually get an extra pick. I mean, right here, we only control 8 out of the 9, but if you want to try to do your strategy a little bit different to control all 9 of them, then you can. It's just a lot of extra battles, which means a lot more time to get through. And to me, it's really not worth it to try to control the entire board when you have to do all the battles. Another thing as well that I forgot to mention, or that I haven't mentioned, is that if you bank your picks all the way up to 56, what's going to happen is that when you're doing your picks, a lot of times when you get these shards, you're going to get multiple cards, multiple lower tiered cards. It's not always just one single card that you get from picking one of these shards. And so you're going to need lots of inventory space. If you have maybe 30 or 40 spaces only, and that's all you got, it's going to be really hard to bank picks because you won't be able to use all the picks. You're just going to run out of space in your inventory, and then it's going to make you clear out inventory before you go back into it. So before you start this event, I would check your inventory. Make sure you have 60 to 70 spaces if you plan on doing this, banking your shards to 50 plus, because you're going to need that space in order to be able to go through all 50 of these picks each time. Another thing to mention is that you can actually train equipments as well in this event by doing something very similar to training the cards. Just put the equipment on there. You just have to engage in a battle. Now you can, if you're training a card, you can put on an equipment you want to train, and that way you get matches done and the equipment done at the same time. But me personally, I don't ever do that just because of the fact I'm trying to get through this event as fast as possible, because to me, this event is grueling. And so that is why I set it up like this, so I don't have to engage in any battles, at least avoid as many possible as I can. But either way, that's all of my tips and tricks and suggestions and strategy for Ring Domination. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything or if you have different strategies that you use. That way the community, when they come to watch the video, they can also look in the comments and check out different ideas. Don't forget, we'll be live streaming this event as well this weekend, quite a bit actually, because we're going to be going out of town and we need things to stream to continue the month of September. Either way though, hopefully I see y'all in the live stream or the next video. Y'all take it easy. We are out. Peace.